You mentioned an Auburn linebacker, Michael.
Yeah,
How real is that? What's
yeah,
the status on that?
yeah. Cam Riley, he entered the portal. I think he doesn't graduate until May, so that's going to be a May window guy. So I definitely think it's real. I think the chances are real. I think the pursuit will be real. So yeah, that's a name that was told to me that to know. That was the team. So usually when they say that, it's kind of like they feel like, or at least my contacts feel that there is a legitimate shot. And he's a massive linebacker if you look at his size. But he is a linebacker. That's kind of what I'm told. But that's a guy I'm going to keep an eye on in that May window. Really close eye on him. I think a visit is quite likely. Cam's already let me know that he's definitely interested in FSU. I think that's a guy to keep an eye on.
6'5", 243 pounds.
Hmm.
Large human being.
Yes.
Large human being. So the on three numbers aren't wrong. It's just that's the numbers they pull from their high
Right.
school
Right.
time. So have that in mind, everybody. What about this guy?
Oh yeah, he's a big one.
French.
Yeah, I think FSU's number one for him. I think
Mhm.
FSU sits in the top spot. He's unofficially visiting. He'll be out there at FSU this weekend on Saturday. I think that's a guy I feel they're in the best position for. Obviously, we don't know how long the process will be. Mike Norvell went there this same day. Mike Norvell said he's staying, and I'm assuming signed his extension whenever they're in Mandarin High School. Saw Tramel Jones, who's the quarterback, and then went to see Jamie French, and then also Drake Stubbs, talented safety they have there at Mandarin. So I think all three of those guys are coveted ones they want. And I think it was interesting that he decommitted just a few days after that. So I think it takes kind of the feelings about FSU, but also if you want to read tea leaves, and that's a good tea leaf sign. And like I said, I felt like even before he didn't decommit from Alabama, and even before Saban retired, I felt like it was close to 50-50 with FSU and Bama. I felt like FSU was making some surge and some wiggle room and some moves with Jamie. I got a chance to watch Jamie in the state title game. He was phenomenal, as I expected he would be. Um, see a couple highlights here from FAMU from the state championship game, but I think FSU has done the best job recruiting him, and so I think they're in a good position right now.
What can you tell us about the latest quarterback commit for the Noles?
Yeah, so an interesting thing with him, the week I went over to watch Kai Bates play and I did the interview, I was trying to see if he'd tell me if he's committing or deciding, and that was when things were starting to trend towards FSU, and so I was like, I'll stay for the game, and the team they were playing, Orlando Jones High School, and that was Trevor Jackson's team. So I got a chance to watch Trevor. That was a very good, pocket presence in there. He's raw. I mean, compared to Luke, he's raw. Is some of the things he does, but I think a very good athlete. I think a guy that you could take your time building. Great arm talent. That certainly jumps out at you when you watch him as the arm talent. Seeing the field's pretty good. Could be better, but pretty good. And just a great option to grab. Late in this process when FSU lost AJ Duffy and they lost Tate Rodemaker. So to add that to your room, it's coming in as a walk on, but that could change. From what I hear, as far as being eventually a scholarship guy. But I think it's just a really good ad because you got him late. He was originally committed to Ole Miss, decommitted from them around October, and there was some other schools on him that were, either G5 or Power Five that won. But I think he preferred to the Florida State. He really liked them, and things started picking up. And as people remember, I told people like there's two guys that I think they're likely to get. I didn't know the second guy, and the second guy was Trevor. I didn't know that time, but the other guy is Amari Williams, defensive end, 4-star that I feel really good about. And I was told those are the two guys. So I think Trevor's a nice add to fill out your room. You can bring them along at your own pace. Obviously, they're hoping not to play another true freshman again. At quarterback, you'll have DJU and Brock Glenn obviously batting out, and Luke will be in there as well. But you can just bring him along at your pace. But certainly, from my perception, watching him, great arm talent, great eyes as far as the way he sees the field, and I think obviously a raw guy as far as technique and mechanics and stuff. But you can take your time fixing that and cleaning that up.
Wes and the Villages. 3 more transfers after spring ball, more or less, Michael.
I'm not putting any number on anything, Wes.
Ah,
I would say not that many. I would say for me, like no more than four, in my opinion.
let's
But
put him
like
through.
I said, that's subject to change, and I am giving myself full right to change that with disclosure. But four would be the most. I think three is a good number, but I think they obviously they're going to keep an eye on. I mean, it might be more that because you're talking about we don't know what's going to happen in the spring of what guys win jobs or don't win jobs, whether it's FSU or not FSU related. So they might take more, but I think they definitely would like to see a offensive tackle. They would love to see a left tackle. They'd love to get that. Certainly like to add another linebacker. We know that. I think the guy that pops out to me is the Auburn linebacker Cam Riley. That's a
Mm,
guy I feel like there's going to be a strong pursuit from FSU with him. Um, we already covered him before, Nikai Hill Green. I think there's a good chance you could see him, but that FSU later in like May. But that really just depends on if there's other guys that what other guys catch their fancy, and then certainly a defensive tackle. So yeah, there's three or four.
Cody Shaw's back.
Hey,
Josh Petty, 2025 offensive
yes,
tackle, real shot.
yes. FSU Norvell and Atkins went to see him today. I don't know. I think Matt retweeted it or not. He plays at I forget. It's kind of a weird school name in
Tennessee,
Georgia.
it looks like.
Oh, is it Tennessee?
Somewhere in Tennessee, I think. It's
Okay, so it's like
oh, I'm sorry, Georgia, Roswell, Georgia, Fellowship
yeah,
Christian School.
yeah, Fellowship
Powerhouse.
Christian School. Yeah, there's a picture circulating that Norvell and Atkins were there to see him. Several other top schools have. That's a kid I was told that's going to visit FSU and probably either late January or February because it feels like there's 3 visit weekends coming up. Obviously, the 20th, you guys know, 27th, and then I think February 3rd. Some kids are coming for that. I don't know if it's like per se a junior day as well, but it's a visit weekend. So I think he's going to be in one of those weekends, those last 2 weekends. So certainly a guy they like, and certainly be one that certainly will be on their board. He will certainly be on my board when we do break down his position. But yeah, that's the guy they like.
Well, let's keep it on the offensive line then, Michael. Grillmaster says, how do the 2025 offensive tackle prospects seem to be? Are we in the running for some of the bigger offensive tackle prospects?
Oh yeah, they're doing really well. They have Solomon Thomas, who's one of the best offensive linemen out of Jacksonville Reigns. He will visit FSU next weekend. I think they're in a pretty good position for Max Buchanan, a 4-star from Sanford Seminoles, same school as Ethan Pritchard, who's already committed to FSU. So I think they sit pretty good with those guys. And then Zaire Addison is another one that's a 4-star that I feel like they're in the best position for. So there's 3 guys right there. Not going to give away the whole hot board. I still got to add Petty because that's kind of a late addition I haven't added yet. But yeah, it's shaping up really good. It's shaping up to be one of probably the best offensive line classes I think potentially that they've had in the FSU history, based
Ooh.
on the way it's trending early on. Now we got to see how that goes, but I feel like it's going to be a really strong class.
Any info on 2025 tight ends? Asks Grillmaster.
Coming up soon, Grill. I've got a hot board. We're that's going down the list. I think there's obvious ones you know about. Elise Williams committed to Georgia, 4-star tight end. That's probably the number one guy. They're working on. They've got him on campus like 4 times last year. I think he'll be back again soon. I'll go through the list of other guys. Hollis Davidson is another one. He visits on Friday actually, so I think you'll see him on campus. He's getting a look, and that's a guy I think they like. I think Coach Thompson went to see him in the evaluation period. So there's one more, but those are kind of a few that I know for sure. But certainly there's going to be pretty expanded board as far as tight ends. I think they'll probably take one. You've got a lot of time before we get to that point of who they take and don't take.